Department. And on behalf of Sandy Prager, Insurance Commissioner, we appreciate you having us here. We are based in Topeka, Kansas. And 2 years ago, just to give you a little background on my history, 2 years ago I retired from the Topeka Police Department. I was a former Deputy Chief of Police in Topeka. Commissioner Prager at that time came out against insurance fraud very vehemently and increased the size of the unit by 2 additional people. Fortunately, I was hired to come in as the fraud investigator. And since that time, I believe last year, between the three of us, between our director Ted Clark, Pat Mullihill, our financial investigator, and myself, I think we had between the three of us about 560 reported fraud claims. So we keep pretty busy. Keep in mind, some of these are beyond insurance fraud claims. Some of these are some of the fraud issues that Darryl brought up. 419 scams, the stuff where give me your bank account number, I'm going to send you $1 million, we'll split it later. If we get those, we'll refer it out to the appropriate agency, but we still log those as a fraud. To get into fraud, of course, definition of insurance fraud is intentional misrepresentation of material facts and circumstances to an insurance company that they normally wouldn't pay out. Basically, it's filling out something that's false or giving them a false statement that does something to induce them to pay you or get some type of benefit from that company. Okay? Different types of frauds that we use within the industry is the hard fraud. Somebody who deliberately goes out and fakes something, a slip and fall. There are experts out here who can walk down the hallway in a grocery store, look around, set it up just right, take a slip and fall, try to get a settlement immediately through their risk people before it hits the insurance company, take the money and run, change your name, or steal your identity, go to another store and do it again. They live this way. So that'd be a hard type of fraud, something very, very unique, very, you can put your hands on. Soft fraud, little white lies to an insurance company. Such things as when they ask you where you park your car, where you garage your car at. Depending where your car is also helps determine what your insurance rates are. If you have a friend who lives in the next county, rates are cheaper over there, and you know that, you tell them, well, I actually garage my car over in such and such county, and it better be there. If you don't, and you're in this county with the higher, it should be the higher rates, you're actually kind of telling a little fib there. They can catch up with you. You could be charged with fraud. So pretty much anything to do with lines with an insurance issue. Intentional loss, damage or destruction of property. Oh my. Other than the arson. Hail damage. You've all heard the stories about the ball peen hammers. A year ago, this last spring, the hailstorm you all had this way and down in Wichita. Received a phone call right after the hailstorm. Some people were watching the employees of the car lot put a golf ball inside a tube sock and beat on the car. They were going to make additional claims on some cars that didn't get hit. Of course, we called the police immediately. The police showed up just after they did it. We got the golf ball, got the sock. There are ways to tell whether it's really hail fraud or not, if it's manufactured damage, which that's one of the ways we use to catch people. But it was obvious it wasn't hail damage with what they did, especially with witnesses. So there's your intentional type fraud. It is a serious problem. The money is huge, folks, just in insurance fraud. As you can see, it'd be a Fortune 500 company if it was a company. Second largest economic crime other than tax evasion. Of course, identity theft is the biggest crime, but economic-wise, after tax fraud, insurance fraud is right behind it. A lot of people think, what's the big deal? It's the insurance company's ripped off. That's not the case. You're the victim. This is coming out of your pocket. Your premiums that you pay are hundreds of dollars more per year because of the fraud that's going on. I think the last estimate I heard, this is just on premiums that you pay for your insurance, you're paying approximately $300 more than you should to help make up for all these fraud events. Okay? Across the board, I'm talking house, car, life, everything. The premiums are that much higher to make up the difference because they've lost that kind of money and they have to balance the risk. We end up paying for it. When it's talking about the $5,000 a year, that's not premiums, that's your household cost. Because somebody else did this fraud, it's going to raise the cost of another product or service that you need. It's going to cost you more, therefore it's costing you about $5,000 a year through the cost of purchasing things, cars, TVs, items like that. Homeowner fraud and property casualty claims, you can see $30 billion. The healthcare system, $54 billion. We're talking estimates of 80 to 100 billion. That's billion a year in insurance fraud costs. That's how large of an industry this has become. These are older opinions. This slide is actually when I came on 2 years ago and put in this program. At that time, the survey we came across showed that 1 out of 4 Americans thought it was okay to defraud a company. You know, they have money, it's okay. It's okay to pad the claim a little bit. I've been paying these premiums for 40 years. They can pay me back a little bit. So that ring I lost, that was $500, so I just put a little 1 in front of it and submit that to $1,500. Of course, we can find the original receipts, and there's ways to determine that what happened. They get caught. But that's padding, that's raising it. Physicians reported they used to be approached by patients saying, hey, you got me a deal on this, I don't have to pay as much premium, get the service a little cheaper. Over the last 2 years, we're seeing this attitude change. From what I've shown you and from the education we put out across the country, people are getting mad about it and they want it to stop because it's costing everybody money. So the attitudes are changing. I don't think it's near this high anymore. And we're hoping. Well, you can just see all the different states are creating fraud units now, insurance fraud units. Taking a bigger stance, putting more people into it. They've realized how much of an economic crime this is, going after it. Now, why would somebody do this? Bertha? Carol, Bertha. I got that. Bertha. Why would somebody do this? Why on earth? Sometimes there's a need. A big emergency came up. They think it's an easy way to make some quick money. Might not get caught. Low risk, but I'll take a chance. Could get into gambling, unfortunately, drugs, or paying for sex. In some cases, other than need, it may just come down to greed. I just want the money. I can make money. It's easy to do. Organized crime knows about it. There's several cons that go on involving vehicles to help set up staged collisions to make it look like a real one, to get cars out of junkyards to do that. Very big money, and that's the kind of thing we look at. We look at accident reports. We see who's involved, see if there really are injuries, see if there's doctors involved, lawyers involved. And sometimes, but I think this is pretty rare for the third reason. You want to meet guys like that? Which I seriously doubt, but that's what usually happens if they decide that they want to go down that path. Types of insurance fraud, again, this is a personal issue. I'm sure somewhere up there you see something that you paid for. Your automobile, your home, here in the rural areas, you got your farm owner's insurance, you have your crop insurance. Those people, of course, Harold talked about Medicare or Medicaid. There are specific agencies that work those cases. If we get the referral on those, we call in either the AG's office, CMS, whoever that is. But you can see in every one of these areas, somebody has tried to commit fraud in some form or fashion, either a claim fraud, set something up, lying about the claim. Mentioning application fraud, the simplest application fraud I can think of, the applicant or consumer provides false information. Generally, this is on health insurance. It's on car insurance, like I talked about the garage issue, where your car is actually parked at. If you lie about that, they catch you somewhere else or somebody turns you in, You could be charged for that. If you're doing a health application or long-term care, you're trying to not quite own up to a prior medical issue and leave it off there, or don't disclose it, or intentionally go around it or lie about it, yeah, that's application fraud. That person could be prosecuted. Believe it or not, agents will do this as well, because the agents want commission. If your application flies by the company, they get paid. If it doesn't go through the company and they stop it because you did have a prior issue, they don't get a commission. So there are agents who will sit down and actually fabricate that information. Or a common one I've been familiar with, or we've seen in the last couple of years, the agents will come to you, usually ones that you know or had insurance with them before, and they have a application on file from a prior policy. So they'll tell you, I found you a new policy, let's go ahead and run this through. You did have some medical issues on it, either between the other policy or it was on the other policy. But what the agent will do is say, go ahead and just sign it, I'll fill the rest of it in for you. Well, if you look at the signature line, it says that you have read this thoroughly and you're aware that any false answers is insurance fraud. If you've signed it, it's like an open-ended check. It's like you wrote a blank check to somebody. You just gave him a blank check to fill in anything he wants or she and get that commission. So be wary of that. Don't sign it unless you read it and you understand. The agents have been known to forge names to create a commission. They have your information, they have anybody's information, or they'll just make it up and they'll just sign the name in. A recent case, and the victim was 98 years old, called the bank to see if they're paying any better CD rates. The person answered said, I can get you 4%. This is back when the rates were about 2.5. And she said, well, that sounds pretty good. Let me know what I need to do. Well, he said he'd take care of it. Hung up the telephone. She never heard from the person again. She came in a year later to check on her CD because it matured, and she wanted to go ahead and bump it up. And this gentleman said, you know, he guaranteed he could get her 4%. So she comes in after never hearing from him. This person no longer is at the bank. The bank manager goes, well, ma'am, your CDs were cashed in last year. And you bought annuities. So I'm 98 years old. Why would I want to buy a 20-year annuity that won't start paying for another 10? Where's my money? So, of course, they called us. Investigation comes up. The gentleman decided to take her money. He signed off. He forged her name, cashed her out of her CDs because he worked within the bank system. Cashed out her CDs, walked over, filled out an application for annuity, switched up the owners on it, sent it in, got the commission, moved out of town. We got him. He was prosecuted. He is no longer an agent, so we won't have to deal with anything. Again, proposed insureds that don't exist. There have been cases where some of these agents have sat down and wrote out 40, 50, 60 applications of people who do not exist. It's all made up. There's all kinds of Berthas and Carols on there. Never met him before, doesn't know him, made up the Social Security number, made up everything, and sent it in, because that stuff typically may not be checked. All that stuff goes up, he gets commission, he takes off. He's in a lot of trouble at this point. Not just with us. Licensure. Our regulations require a claim history for an insurance agent. A young lady several years ago worked at a bank. Banks can come in. Worked at a bank and got caught embezzling money. She got caught, got prosecuted, and placed on probation, lost her job. Goes out to look for a new job. Where does she go? She goes to a convenience store. The convenience store hired her with an embezzlement charge to handle money. I don't know why, but they did. Well, what happens? She starts embezzling money from the convenience store. They catch her. She gets prosecuted, convicted. insurance agent. Calls us, gets the application, fills it out, forgets to mention that she has 2 prior felony convictions for embezzlement. Guess who got charged for a 3rd time for lying on her application, which is a 3rd felony? You have an idea. Want to learn the hard way, she did. So if you lie on your application and we catch it, once again, you can be charged that way as well. Policy changes. We talked about that a little bit on the top, but if you change the document that you submit to the company, like tatting the claim, if you change some numbers or falsify the information that you're submitting for your claim, that's an area we see a lot of. An agent change in policy ownership. Again, the one I just told you about with the 98-year-old victim in Kansas City. No idea. He changed the ownership on these annuities because he knew they would not approve her as a 98, so he put the ownership under the niece, who's only 70, made her a beneficiary. That's how they got run through. That's how it got approved. That's how it got changed. So he just changed up names just to make it work out. Again, the beneficiaries. The gentleman in his what happened? An agent, instead of going to that story, agents have the ability, of course, they know names and they have your policies in front of them. If he's a bad, or she's a bad agent, they can take your policy and do a change of beneficiary form, which is forgery, and send it in, and you may never know about it. And they could put themselves in as a beneficiary or a friend of theirs in as a beneficiary. So we watch for that as well. The point there is to check your documents every couple of years to make sure it's still the way it's supposed to be. It would be rare that would happen to you, but it does happen. So it's something to keep in mind as part of your checklist. So check your policies, make sure they're in order, just like you would any other personal business. It's not long range, is it? Inflated claim, the second one we talked about, adding the numbers. The first one, knowing it to be false, the guys get in the car with the hail, they know that wasn't hail damage, they just flat out lied. The health or accident claim, gentleman was trying to sell his motorcycle. A friend of his came over to ride it, to try it out. Took out the driveway, laid it sideways, tore it up pretty good. Well, they didn't want to record it that way because they don't want the friend in trouble. They just want the money to fix the bike. So the two get together and fabricate a story of how the bike was parked at this other address, his car was backing up, accidentally ran over the top of it. And by the time the insurance investigators looked into it, they found out that it wasn't quite the case. The damage didn't meet what they said happened on the claim. So they denied the claim. 2 months later, these guys got together again, came up with a second story, tried to run a second claim through the same insurance company who already has the notes on the first claim that said it was denied, so the red flags went flying up. The investigators called us, we went out to interview these guys. Sad to say, these were actually some soldiers, and they had to be arrested and they were taken out of service because what they did was felon in Kansas. And it was unfortunate, but they were trying to find a way to make money out of this incident. Had they reported it the way it happened, it would have been fine. But they tried to fabricate the circumstances, try to embellish it, make it a little bit bigger than it was, put the insurance risk against the owner of the car rather than the owner of the bike. They all three of them got caught. Work injury claims, we talked about those. False. Somebody gets hurt actually when they're at home. wait till they go to work and grab their back, say, oh my God, I slipped over here. Turn in their workers' comp claim. They tell somebody else, or somebody else witnessed where they really got hurt, or know that they had a pre-existing injury several years ago and trying to reclaim the same injury. We'll get calls on that and have to investigate. See if we can make a case on that. Agent, on your behalf, without your knowledge, could make a claim as if they were you and ask that the check be sent to a post office box or a different address other than your real address. So you have a claim against your insurance history. He or she collected the check, and you have no knowledge of it whatsoever. So the next time your premium comes in and it's a little bit higher, and you call and say, well, that's for the claim back on such a, well, I never made a claim. Then that's when you call us and we start finding out what's going on. We can track down who made the claim, where the claim is, who signed it. That's where the forgery comes in, and the insurance fraud. Third-party service providers, just real quick, somebody deals a lot in the medical area or medical services area, can set up a third-party company, same thing. Different addresses, this is what we provide, and durable medical equipment. You send us a check on your behalf because you signed this piece of paper saying you needed it. Money's transferred over here. Keeps the agent's name out of it. It's kind of a little shell game. And they can get the money sent from the company straight to their bogus company until it catches up with them when they do an audit and see how much money they're sending to this one company. And everybody has these claims that says that you just got a diabetic kit. You say, oh, I never got a diabetic kit. We start looking into it to find out where the money, we follow the money to see where it comes. Plenty going on in the insurance industry. Medical providers and bills to insurance providers, unfortunately, some of them will do, they'll bill without ever doing the services. Your bill will show that doctor did 18 different things and you went up in there and got a shot. It's been inflated, it's been overbilled, it's just an outright lie. Unless you see the bill or you see the summary from your health insurer and you look at it to make sure those things really happen, you may never catch it. So again, it is reviewing your records. Yeah, I did go to the doctor on that day. That was the day I went. Yeah, he did do these things. And have them put it in plain language. If they coded, for 2 years I haven't broke the code yet. You have to find a coder and figure out what they're talking about, but they'll tell you, if you call them, they have coders and say, what on earth is this? I said, well, that means that you had an electrical stimulation at a chiropractor. No, I did not. Then the red flags go up, they call their investigator, they call us, case open.
Will you excuse me?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me?
You bet. Repair facilities at your body shops. Same thing. Claim is filed. Say there is a legitimate accident, but the check is coming down to a agreed upon body shop and the insured. It's made out to both. So it would require the insured signature and the body shop signature to cash this to get the agreed work done. Okay? What they do when the check comes in, rather than doing the work, they have an agreement amongst themselves. They both sign off on the check. The heck with the car, go get the cash. There's a little cash exchange for pulling this deal off, and down the road they go. The car never gets fixed. Both of them pocket the money going down the road. Unfortunately, the last one, I've only seen once in my career personally. Actually worked undercover at one time at the police department. An insurance agent hired me to accelerate the demise of his wife for insurance purposes. We arranged a crime scene, got her off the street, got her hidden, made it look like we went through with it, got him in there. What it turned out was he had a mistress in the company. The two of them were doing premium theft. Premiums coming in, they cash money, keep it, and embezzle it from the company. They're going to take the insurance proceeds and skip or be out of the country or something. But luckily, we got into it fast enough we stopped the whole thing, nobody got hurt. The gentleman became a resident of the Kansas Correctional System. Some of the false claims, this one came in about a year ago. We received an anonymous call that there was a gentleman outside Wichita who reported his truck stolen about 5 years ago. This was a, believe it or not, this used to be a 2001 Z71 Chevy pickup. He reported it stolen. He wanted the money, a drug issue, it turns out. He wanted the money for drugs. Took the car out in the backyard of his in-laws, borrowed a tractor, buried it, smashed it, buried it in the yard. It's been there for 5 years until we got the phone call. Called the police down in Wichita. They went out and knocked on the door, said, "We hear there's a truck buried in your backyard." And the in-law says, "It certainly is, come with me." And he didn't care for his son-in-law. Walked him out there, and that's what they found was that truck out back. So the gentleman, again, besides his drug charges, got prosecuted for the false report on the stolen truck and the insurance fraud. Another area I'd like to discuss with you is fake insurance and no insurance. No insurance, I'm going to get real quick, no real slides to go with that. But make sure if you're sold something, you get a copy of something. If somebody is going to sell you a legitimate insurance policy, they'll have you fill out an application, may or may not write a check at that time. A lot of places don't require it. We'll get into the check piece later. But within 30 to 45 days, if you don't have a policy in front of you, or if that agent did not leave a binder in front of you and a receipt that shows that you paid, you may have not gotten insurance at all. You may have just took your money and run. Okay. Fake insurance. Again, now to have some statistics. This is about 5 years old, but you can see the impact. This is how bad it was 5 years ago, and this tends to increase. Lots of money, folks. People are just making these bogus policies up. You have people who will make them up with the technology they have now. You can scan anything, copy anything. All they have to do is change a few policy numbers, hand you something. You may not have a real policy. So always check what you have. You'll get that pretty quick. Everybody is at risk. Anyone's at risk. Daryl talked about it earlier. Those of us who are all here that are baby boomers, we're a little more trusting than everybody else. We think if somebody tells us something, that's the way it's going to be, and they take advantage of our trust. That's all there is to it, folks. Unfortunately, you need to double check. This is a business deal. Double check on what you're doing. If you buy a car, you have it checked out. If you buy an insurance policy, get it checked out. A lot of warning signs. If the agent is high pressure, says you have to do this today, this is a one-time deal, I can only get you this 7% on this annuity today only, something's wrong. Companies don't issue stuff that are only issued for a day. Take the time, write down the information, call the company and confirm it, call the insurance department, we'll call them and confirm it, and see if this is really a legitimate offer. Premiums. Good selling point on a fake policy. I'll cut your premiums by at least 15%, if not more. Most of your premiums for most of the products that are apple to apple are pretty close to each other. There's no wide range because the risks are the same across the board for all companies. So you don't get, if you're paying $3,000 a year for long-term insurance over here, and they come up and say, "Well, I'll get it for you for $1,000. Something's wrong here. There's not apples to apples. Something's off the keel. Take the time to check it out. Give us a call. And few coverage limitations. Again, on the application, say, oh, you don't need to worry about all those medical issues. You don't need to worry about the problems with your beneficiaries and your spouses. And just it's okay. They'll cover anything. They won't cut you off for any reason. It's probably not true because each insurance company has certain things they have to meet to cover their risk, to make sure they're not writing a bad risk. So if they're throwing this out there saying, yeah, even you can have this kind of a policy, step back a little bit, take a peek at it, and see what it really is. So my idea is to protect yourself when you're dealing with the insurance agent. Know your agent and the company. You can call and check on both. We can tell you whether or not he or she's a licensed agent, if there's any issues with the agent, if the company's still good. If you have a friend who has internet, they can go out and check the ratings on the company to see if they're having troubles and see where they're rated at. But keep in mind, different rating companies have different rating scales. So what might be a B plus over here and a D over here may mean the same thing. Just because it's a D doesn't mean it's bad. It's just this is how they're rated. So you have to watch it very closely. But don't keep the information on the agent, what they do and what they say. Get their information, get their card. They should leave information for you if they're trying to sell you a product. There should be a prospectus of some type or a binder. Ask for references. If you don't know this person from Adam, who can I call to make sure that you do what you say you do? And see if he offers up some things. See, they may not want you to be checking up on what they do. And once again, call the company and see if this agent, or we can do it too. We can tell you if an agent is appointed by a particular company to sell their product. There are agents who will sell you products who don't even work for that company. And it's another shell game, but they're handing the money off to another agent who's not doing their job. This agent did all the work and they split commissions. Splitting commissions is legal if that agent that made the sale actually works for that company. So it's a little shell game they play. I'm going to stop too. I got to tell you about agents. It sounds like agents are bad. They aren't. This is a very, very minute percentage of the agents we have in Kansas. We have 22,000 licensed agents in Kansas. That's resident agents that live in Kansas, do business in Kansas. Overall, with non-resident and resident agents, we have approximately 76,000 agents. The agents I'm talking about, if we may be taking in 10 to 12 complaints a year on 12 different people. You can see how small of a fraction that is. So the majority of your agents are good. I would bet that most of your policies are 99.9% great. So don't think this is a reflection upon all the agents, because they are very good. They are very professional. They get trained every year. They go to the same type of training that we put on for them. They're required to have so many hours a year. We go over this with them. And they know the boundaries. So you'll find the majority of them are good folks. We're talking about the bad side. Okay? To watch out for the bad side, because it is out there. Shop carefully. If you really don't need an additional Medicare D or Medicare F supplement, don't buy it. If you already got one, why would you need two? Some of these salesmen are good enough to sell you 2 or 3 policies of the same kind. You may have hospital indemnity policy, home health care already pretty much anything you'd ever need, but this is so attractive, how can I let that go? Well, now you got 2. Then you come to find out, once you make a claim, only one's going to end up paying in the first place, so you paid premium over here for no reason all along. So be careful what you shop for. Make sure they will allow you the benefits from both companies if you decide to increase your insurance. Again, get an outline from the agent of the coverage. Read it, understand what you're buying. If you don't, call the insurance department, call another agent you work with, call somebody just to double check to make sure you know what you have. You can always, it's your home, it's your choice. You can always say no, back off, I want to talk to somebody. Nobody has any right to force you to sign anything at any time. Just take your time with it. Tell them it's interesting, you'll look at it, you'll get back with them, but once again, if they're telling you now, this is your only chance at it, let it walk, we'll find another. It's like that car deal. Well, I'd like to have that one. You won't come down on it. You know what? I'll find one down the road just as nice. So it's out there. Of course, you don't want them in their house. That's up to you. You can invite them in or say, no, you stop right there. Please let me in. I'd like to talk. No, I don't want you in my house. If they're persistent, if you don't know them, call the police. Call Sonny, call Jeff, call somebody, call your neighbor, get somebody over there and say, hey, this person needs to back off. And then call us and tell us who it was, because we have a section who deals with agent behavior other than the criminal part, and they'll be dealt with administratively as well for their behavior. Again, time is of the essence. Do it today or else. Most good agents I've ever met won't crush you like that. Daryl talked a lot about telephone solicitation. Don't give out credit card numbers, bank account numbers, anything financial. I want you to be aware of something called cold call. Agents and financial securities people are not allowed to just call you out of the blue. If they call you, most likely somewhere along the line you filled something out at a fair. You filled out something somewhere, an interest card. You saw an ad in the newspaper and you called in on it and left a number for them to call you back. Once you open that door, it's no longer cold call. There's one company that sends out postcards and will tell you your annuity is about to expire. Please call us to check on it right away. This company has nothing to do with your annuities, but if you call them, that gives them the right to talk to you to see if you would like another annuity. And if you don't have one, we'll sell you one. But if you do have one, we'll send an agent out to you to see what you have, to see if you need to update it or get another. So you've opened yourself up to a sales pitch is what that is. And it's a backdoor way of cold calling is what it is. We address these companies when we find out about them. If we catch their ads, catch their postcards, we'll send a cease and desist letters to them and ask them to stop it. If they continue, they may get an order from the commissioner telling them to stop it. It's not looked upon as a great way to create leads. The postcards too, once you call in, your information goes to a local agent that paid a fee to get these leads. The agent usually doesn't know how these people are getting your information. They don't know that they sent you a postcard. That's the funny part of this whole thing. It's a marketing gimmick to get the agents to pay. We'll get you the leads. We won't tell you how we get the leads. So these people get, the consumers have said, pass on your names to the agent. All of a sudden the agent, or they're trying to make an appointment for you to meet with an agent you've never heard of, never met before, but is going to show up at your house on a certain day and time to talk to you about your insurance. And if you want to cancel this appointment, you have to go back to the marketing place. You cannot call this agent's office. They won't give you his number. And we don't look kindly upon that. So we'll find out who the contracting agent is, have a chat with them. Most of the time, once you call us and tell us you don't want involved with this, we'll cancel the appointment at both ends. We'll tell the agent to knock it off, and we'll tell the company to quit it, to leave you alone, and nobody's going to meet with anybody. You'll see a lot of the advertisements if you're interested in this. If we can save you this much money on your Medicare D supplement, just call us, and then just, like I said, it just opens up a market. Just like going to Carnival, filling out for your free trip. You just let the no call thing take a sidestep for a second and let these people call you to give you your free trip. Please always, on your policies, pay by check. It's a good paper trail. And if this is all legitimate, they'll set you up with a bank draft. It's easier, you can track it that way, it always comes out the same way, there's no changes. You don't have in-between people handling your money. You know that money went to where it belongs. There are no issues about, well, they took my check, they cashed it, they kept the money. 2 months later, you get a call from your insurance company or a letter saying they're going to cancel you because they didn't get premium. I wrote the check, here it is. I wrote it to this agency. Well, we never got it up here. This person is bound because he's appointed by this agency to back that up. You call us, we get it taken care of appropriately. It will not get canceled. We'll go after the agent, whatever we can get just a review real quick. Review when you get your policy. Annuities, if you're looking at annuities, there's a law that says you have so many days to look at this policy without having to take it. So if you look at it, you decide you don't want it, you call the company, you write a letter to the company and the agent saying, I no longer want this, you can get out of it. Just because you paid for it and it's in the mail on the way and it showed up doesn't mean you have to take it. Okay? So always ask about a free look period. How long do you get to look at that policy once it's right in front of you? Okay? And they shouldn't have any problem with that whatsoever. You have a right to look at, it's a contract between you and the company, not you and the agent. You have a right to see that contract and have time to evaluate whether or not you want that contract. And once again, if you have questions about anything to do with insurance, please call us at the Kansas Insurance Department. And keep these things in mind though. Stop before you ever sign anything or write a check. Think about it. If you're not sure that this is who you think it is, you give us a call at the insurance department, and we have cards and brochures on the back table. We'll check on the company, the agent, whatever you like us to check. We get copies of the policies for you and confirm that this is who they say it is, that they're allowed to be doing business in Kansas. Not every company in the country can do business in Kansas. They have to be licensed by it. Some companies come in unlicensed, they get fined, they get kicked out. So if you want to make sure who they are, that they're supposed to be here, feel free to call us. We get complaints from everybody you can think of, every agency, every consumer, friends. Every report we take may not be insurance fraud. It might be, I was talking to a lady earlier about what happens on some of the finances of the company. It could be a market conduct issue, the way they're raising funds, the way they're handling their policies. They're putting certain fees out there that they didn't register with us. We'll look into that for you. Make sure that they're following the rules that are set for them administratively. Agent conduct, we have a producer division that licenses the agents that will handle anything with the agent that's not criminal. So if they're out of line, if they're pushy, if they're basically lying to you about things, that's who we would get you hooked up with. File a complaint against the agent, we'll take it from there. And actually, we call them in for a hearing, and they have to justify to us what they did, why they did it, what they're doing, where they're going with this whole thing. Again, complaints, we don't investigate each and every complaint that comes in for fraud. Most of your major insurance companies have their own investigators. And we meet with them on a regular basis. We have task forces set up clear across the state, especially in Kansas City and Wichita area. So we know most of the investigators with the companies in Kansas. So we can pick up the phone saying, hey, John Doe or Yogi Bear just made got information on him he made a false claim on a car accident back in '02. We have a database we can look up, find that claim, see that it's this particular insurance company, call the investigator, send them the complaint. They are bound to investigate that and report back to us. Once they investigate it, then the part that we do is make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and then we have an in-house prosecutor, and we try to prosecute the person. So we have a lot of help out there besides just us. Invaluable. Interview witnesses, take statements, collect evidence, and once again, our attorney is a special designated prosecutor out of the Attorney General's office. She's not part of the Attorney General's office, but has that authority to prosecute. And once again, think about what you're being approached with. Take your time with it. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not. And feel free to call us at any of these numbers, that website, anything we can do. And that'll close this part of the presentation.